Except when I need to read.
That's what happened. It's happened with my friends too.
Yeah, all those too.
You said it was like an extra 3,000 or something to be able to read.
Give the astigmatic correction, so that you wouldn't need glasses at all for reading.
But you can't get regular reading glasses. You can't just go to Walgreens and get reading glasses, right? Because you're astigmatism.
If it was just no astigmatism, yeah, I could go to Walgreens, find one that works.
I know, but I can't. I have astigmatism too.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked her, can I just go into Walgreens? Because she put in, it was like 2.75 or something, whatever. And she goes, no, you're not. It's not going to work for you. Yeah.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes.
My phone, if you sing it's over.
Okay. So we are going to be at chapter 33, verse 50, Lamed Gimel Nun.
That's what we read. Okay.
Lois, do you want to be a reader for today?
Okay.
I read that last week.
I think
No,
we both did. I think we both did.
Did we read this section about the idols? Destroying the idols? Oh, maybe we did, because I brought up the thing.
I don't think so.
Maybe not. We'll do it anyways. Even if we, so it would be
Okay.
from Nun.
Okay.
Hi, Estelle.
From 50, right? Hashem spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you, and you shall destroy all their prostration stones. All their molten images shall you destroy.
Yeah, go ahead.
And all
doesn't matter. Yeah, that's good.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah,
and all their high places shall you demolish. You shall possess the land, and you shall settle in it for to you have I given the land to possess it. You shall give the land as an inheritance. Oh yeah, we did do this. By lot to your families. To the many you shall increase its inheritance, to the few shall decrease its inheritance. Wherever its lot shall fall, his shall be. According to the tribes of your fathers shall you inherit. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land before you, those of them whom you shall leave shall be pins in your eyes and a surrounding barrier of thorns in your sides, and they will harass you upon the land in which you dwell. And it shall be that what I had meant to do to them, I shall do to you. I shall go on.
Yes.
Oh, no?
Okay. Well, yeah. So just to review, that we talked about destroying the idols in Israel, and and the tribe of Dan. We talked about how they had to go and conquer new land, and that also that they did not, in the end, push out all the inhabitants of the land, and that is going to come back to haunt them at different times. Okay, please start with chapter 34.
Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, command the children of Israel and say to them, when you come to the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, the land of Canaan according to its borders. Your southern side shall be from the wilderness of Zin at the side of Edom, and your southern border shall be from the edge of the salt sea to the east. The border shall go round south of Ma'ala Akrabim, and shall pass toward Zin, and its outskirts shall be south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it shall go out to the Hazer Adar and pass Asmon. The border shall go around from Asmon to the stream of Egypt, and its outskirts shall be toward the sea. I guess that's the Mediterranean. The western border, it shall be for you the great sea and the district. This shall be for you the western border. Okay, go on. And
Yeah.
okay. This shall be for you the northern border. From the great sea, you shall turn to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor, you shall turn to the approach of Hamath, and the outskirts of the border shall be toward Zedad. The border shall go forth toward Ziphron, and its outskirts shall be Hazar Aram. This shall be for you the northern border. You shall draw yourselves as the eastern border from the Hazar Enan to Shaphan. The border shall descend from Shaphan to Riblah, east of Ain. The border shall descend to the extent to the bank of the Kinneret Sea to the east. The border shall descend to the Jordan, and its outskirts shall be the Salt Sea. This shall be the land for you according to its borders all around.
Okay, let's just stop for a second and
look at the map.
look at the maps.
Yes.
R.A. Catherine tends to spend time on these things. Let's hope he did here.
Oh, okay, this doesn't help.
No, he did not. Oh, yeah, here we are. Biblical boundaries of the Holy Land. So I don't know if you can see this, but
No, wait.
not really. Yeah,
Lois,
probably.
I think we have a picture on that page.
Yeah,
This
no, I
meeting
have
begins.
them in my Tanakh. I have the maps. Don't worry. I have them.
Okay. So it's still, even with the addition of some of that land on the other side of the Jordan, it's still the thin country that we basically recognize, right? It does go up higher than Israel does now.
To Mount Hor. To
Yeah, now what does he mean, whore? Because that is not that that's where Aaron is buried, and that's in Jordan, right? 1 second here. Why did they bring that up? Yeah, I don't get it. It says the northern border from the northern border is from the Great Sea to Hor Hahar. Now, I don't get a northern border. Hor Hahar it would be south of Amman. It's so that one I'm curious about. Look how low. Look how much higher this is than the land now, because it goes. You see, in ours, do you have Mount Hermon in yours? Can you tell where Mount Hermon is in yours?
I don't see. Where would it be near?
So in mine, it's like here.
It's there, Lois, in the middle.
Oh,
You see that?
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
that's the Golan Heights.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it goes
that's
up a lot further.
Look how high that is.
Into Lebanon mountains and up to
Yeah. So that's straight up. So that's covering, it's going into Turkey.
Yeah.
Up to Antioch, which.
Oh, we have a lot to do.
Yeah. how low. Even Tyre and Sidon, those are in Lebanon of today. They're so low on this thing. It's like more than half the country is not in present day Israel, according to this map.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at
according to what it says, yeah.
But as far as going south, don't go that far south.
Kadesh Barnea.
Right. So
Oh, that's
we have more territory in Israel. Now, I don't get this. How does it only go down? Why are they saying this? We saw that they yeah, that makes sense. So according to this map, a lot is not in Israel.
right. It's too far east.
Almost that.
East
Right. And it doesn't go far enough south.
or south, yeah.
So
Where it says the stream of Egypt, which is
yeah,
south of Gaza, What
yeah.
is it? Is that a river we know? Or, I mean,
So it's come up before there, and I remember, I think even Ari Kaplan has brought that up before. Let's go back. I'm gonna go back to Abraham's boundaries.
It looks like it's something that's coming out of the Mediterranean.
Abraham's boundary.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Where is it? Can't talk to you now. Where was it? Oh, yes, yeah.
Where did he tell him about the actual boundary? He said it to Abram. He said from the great river, it's like from one river to the next. I think he said from the great river. Is that right in the beginning?
Well, what would be considered the Great River?
Right. So it seems like he might be talking about the Euphrates. Ah, here we are. Oh no, that's Abram's battle. Somewhere. Somewhere.
Is even Beersheba a little south of there?
Yeah. Now it looks like no, Beersheba. Yeah, but not. It looks like Beersheba is still in this, in this, because it's not that far south.
Right. Okay.
So it looks like it's still in it. Am I wrong? He did tell it. He did. Oh, here it is. Abraham's journey. We have Abraham's journey. I thought at one point he tells him the map, but maybe he doesn't. It just says look north, south, and everything you're gonna have it. Maybe. Anyways, some different places it mentions it, and in one place it refers to from one river. In fact, that's second here. There was this guy, Friedman, who was a professor, I think at UWM, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and he was friends of our family. He was somehow invited to be part of the first delegation of in the for representing the United States in discussions with Arafat. It was after years of refusing to
Yeah.
negotiate with him, and then they had those meetings, and he was at the first one, and he said he told me this, like, he was telling me this story. He said he at one point Arafat just comes over to him and he's schmoozing with Arafat, and Arafat says to him, the two stripes on the Israeli flag, those two blue stripes. He says one is the Euphrates and the other is the Nile. That is Israel's agenda. Israel has a manifest destiny agenda. That's what he claimed. And then Professor Friedman said back to him, no, it's the stripes of Atalis. That did not convince Arafat too much. All right. Where?
Couldn't it be the Mediterranean and the Canaries? Or
No, so I think it says like the great part of the boundary. If you look at this map, it probably goes up to the Euphrates, because it doesn't mean, in other words, it doesn't mean the whole width. In other words, that you follow the Euphrates down,
right.
and then all that territory, but rather you're gonna, there's a part of it that's gonna touch the Euphrates, and then there's a part of it that's gonna touch the river in Egypt. Those would be almost like a north-south. They are also east-west, but also almost they're north-south as well. Where are the different descriptions of the is what I'm reduced to. But thankfully, I have these aids. Some people have walking aids. I have thinking aids. The Torah contains multiple descriptions of the boundaries of the land of Israel. Genesis 15. Where was I looking? Where was I looking? I was looking in 15. I'm right there.
We're right there.
Wait, but what? 18 to 21? Oh, it's right at the end. I was like, I can't believe it. I was looking. All right, so here, this is in Genesis 15, verse 18.
15, 18, you say?
Yeah. So there he says, Minahar Mitzrayim ad Hanar Hagadol Nahar Parat. Egyptian rivers. Some say this is the Nile, but this is a minority opinion. Ibn Ezra says it's the Shihor River, which is identified as Wadi El Arish on the border of the Holy Land, some 90 miles east of the present Suez Canal. Now, see notes on Exodus 23:31. So let's look there. See notes on Exodus 23:31. Let your fingers do the walking. 23:31. This is Mishpatim, and it says here, I will set your borders from so this is a different description, from the Red Sea, so Yam Suf, till the Sea of the Philistines, from the desert to the river. So the notes here say Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba, which is the eastern arm of the Red Sea. Others say that this is the Gulf of Suez, which is the western arm of the Red Sea. If it's the Gulf of Suez, is that where the Suez Canal is? Would you assume that?
I would think.
So then you're not talking east-west, you're talking south-north. Where's the Philistine Sea? The southern Mediterranean near the land of the Philistines. So the southern Mediterranean. What does it mean to the river? The Euphrates. Yeah, so that's it. So if it means the Gulf of Suez, then it's giving the western borders from the Gulf of Suez up until the Mediterranean, and then um, on the eastern side, it's from the desert to the Euphrates. So he also says this in Mishpatim. He says, I'm going to give you those who dwell in the land into your hands, and you will throw them out. Do not make a treaty with the nations or with their gods. Do not allow them to reside in your land, since they may make you sin to me. You may even end up worshiping their gods, and it will be a fatal trap for you. So here, there's a little more detail in what the threat is, what the threat is there. All right, so we have, these are two of the places. So here it says, this is the broadest description possibly, extending from central Egypt to Iraq, far larger than the modern state of Israel. Yeah, so this is, again, this does not have to
You
be what
found
it
a bunch
means.
too. Look,
Yeah,
I found different times, different borders,
yeah.
like 6 of them, no, 8 of them.
So according to
Right.
this the characterization here, our map is a smaller territory than the Genesis or Exodus amounts. But I think the reason is, they're saying that is because they're assuming that when you say you're going to the Euphrates, it means the Euphrates is the eastern border of Israel. It does not have to mean that. And a lot of people, it just means to the north, you're going to the Euphrates, not that the Euphrates represents the entire western boundary. Because according to that is what Arafat was saying to my friend, Professor Friedman.
Yep.
Let's see here, myjewishlearning.com. What does the Torah say about the land of Israel?
Lost my maps.
Yeah, see, they're getting this from My Jewish Learning. It's not necessarily the traditional understanding. Land of Israel. Here it says 9 times. The definitions of the limits of this territory vary between passages in the Hebrew Bible, with specific mentions in Genesis 15, Exodus 23, Numbers 34, Ezekiel 47. 9 times elsewhere in the Bible, the settled land is referred to from Dan to Beersheba, and 3 times it is referred to as from the entrance of Hamath until the brook of Egypt. Now, the entrance of Hamath could be straight up in whatever is present day Syria or Turkey. And the question is, what is the brook of Egypt? So Wadi El Arish. I just want to see what Wadi El Arish looks like. It is a major dry riverbed, that's why it's called a wadi, in the northeastern Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, stretching about 250 kilometers, 155 miles, and emptying into the Mediterranean Sea near the town of El Arish. It is the largest drainage system in the Sinai, though it only carries water seasonally or after heavy rains. Wadi El Arish is widely identified by scholars as the Brook of Egypt, which is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as the southernmost border of the land of Israel. This identification is supported by ancient sources, geography, and archaeological evidence. The wadi served as a natural boundary between ancient Egypt and Canaan, and thus had both political and theological significance in biblical times. Some ancient and modern scholars have proposed alternative identifications, such as the Besor stream, but Wadi El Arish remains the most commonly accepted location for the biblical border. The city of El Arish sits near the mouth of the wadi, just west of the modern border between Egypt and Israel. Today, the wadi is broad and flat, often planted with date palms, and is not always clearly visible except after significant rainfall. Wadi El Arish was a significant in various historical events, including the Battle of Magdaba during World War I. Wadi El Arish is a driver. The African humid period was the last time a river consistently flowed through that riverbed. And you might ask, when was the African humid period? I'll tell you. It began 14,000 years ago. When did it end? It ended 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. So it is already a dry riverbed when, I mean, it dry except for when it rains. So it's already going to be a dry riverbed in the time of Abraham. So when he's talking to him about that location, it's a wadi as we think of these wadis. You know, when it's one of the things that Israelis are supposed to know to look out for when they go on hiking trips, which is if they are if they're hiking in areas that get flooded after a rain. And there are times when there are places where you are that it is so arid, it is so dry that you would not believe that you're in a riverbed.
Right.
And then also
Then it rains.
But by the way, it doesn't have to rain at you. It could rain miles away.
Yeah.
And then the water starts pouring down. And that's where it gets really dangerous, because the people that are hiking
Don't see
they
it coming.
don't see it coming. So therefore, they're supposed to be in touch when you take hikes in those areas. You're supposed to be in touch with the weather service, and I guess there's numbers you can call to find out if it's safe to hike in those places. Because when we were on tours, I remember going on like whatever, not just pastors tours, even or Sameach, that we'd have to watch out for it. And there was, I think, oh no, I didn't see this in person. I saw it in a video that somebody shared of what it looks like when the water starts coming. And it is really ridiculous because it's sunny, completely sunny out where you
Yep.
are. And you're in a completely arid place, and suddenly this wall of water just starts pouring down. So that's what it would have been like at Wadi El Arish, which is apparently where most scholars think Nachal Mitzrayim is, that it is not the Nile. So for that, Arafat is wrong. As far as the Euphrates, he seems to be correct, since the Torah itself says the Euphrates. But the question is, does it mean the entire length of the Euphrates is the western border? Or does it just mean that at one point the border touches the Euphrates? Not that the Euphrates itself
Right.
represents the entire boundary. All right.
That would go to Baghdad. That would
Right.
go all the way down. Right.
Right. Which
Yes,
is
ma'am.
why that My Jewish Learning and some of these other places were saying that our map in Massey is much smaller than the Genesis map. But that's because they're interpreting the Genesis map to mean all the way to Baghdad.
Hmm.
But you could see how propaganda, I mean, if you were an Arab and you were arguing that Israel has grand designs to take over all of the Arab lands,
Yeah.
you could turn to the Bible and you could show them the language, and it sounds like it. That Arafat thing, there, I don't know why that wasn't. Maybe it was more popular. I didn't hear about it except from him. But that is such a soundbite. That is a devastating soundbite. That the two stripes of blue on the flag are the Euphrates and the Nile. And go look at the Bible, people. That's what they're planning on having for their Jewish state.
Okay, let's take it all over.
All righty. Do you feel when you're in a place that has history that goes back thousands of years, does it impact you? Does it,
Only in Israel.
like if you went to the Colosseum in Rome,
Well, maybe, but not the same way.
right? I did go to the Colosseum, and I didn't spend a lot of time there. We just sort of stopped there.
That was your overnight
Yeah,
flight.
that was like 2 years ago. And also in England, they can have stuff going back 2,000 years because they have stuff from they have Roman
Yeah.
stuff too. And you, like, when they point to it, I agree. It doesn't necessarily feel. On the other hand, going to Abraham Lincoln's house, we have such a skewed sense of history. Like, I was so moved going to Abraham Lincoln's house. I remember like 20 years ago going on one of those tours, and
Yeah, I remember.
I'm glad-
School.
I'm glad you said that because for some reason, a couple of days ago, I was thinking, David and I, we really have to get just somewhere. And I thought, maybe Springfield. Maybe there.
We stopped in Springfield many times, and I really like it there. I mean,
I was there a long time ago.
it's got character. The city itself has places that have real character, but also all the Lincoln stuff is just
Yeah.
We go through it because we're always like coming back from some anything, but
Right,
you
like
know, we
you'd go to
stopped.
St. Louis,
Right,
you'd go to those
right.
bridge tournaments.
Yeah,
in
but
St.
that,
Louis, so.
Lois, that would be a good idea for a short trip.
Also, if you go, like, if you go to Springfield and then you go west, you could go to Hannibal, Missouri.
Is Hannibal
Okay.
Lecter there?
And Mark Twain, you have all the Mark Twain stuff.
Twain stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. You know what happened though in Springfield? We were driving back. We did it from Oklahoma City or Amarillo, where were in
Wow,
one day. But
that's long.
around 1 a.m, we were driving through Springfield with my old Celica, and this light came on, and I thought the car was going to blow up. It happened to be it was something with the catalytic converter, which I didn't know. And I said, David, we have to stop. I can't. I'll always remember Springfield.
Did you?
Like,
did you stay in Springfield?
No.
That's awesome.
Did you drive with the light on?
Yeah.
And nothing happened. The light wasn't flashing.
No, it wasn't flashing. It was just, but it didn't say anything. It just came on, you know.
Well, yeah, that car wasn't young.
No.
That was before all the stuff we have now.
That's for sure. And I have a car with all the stuff before.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has more than the Celica had, but less than.
Right.
Okay. So there is the map. So again, there are, as it said before, there are, Mr. Perplexity. There are in the Torah, there are three primary.
What are we supposed to make of that? Like, Hashem changes his mind. He doesn't. I mean,
with regard to which part about the borders?
Yeah, changing borders like that.
Well, I mean, practically speaking, the first one is to Abraham. The second one is to the Jewish people.
Oh, okay.
The third one, and that's at the beginning, Mishpatim. So be it to the Jewish people right after Sinai. And then the next one is to the Jewish people right before they go in. And then there's a version in Devarim when Avraham, during Moshe's speeches, he makes reference to the boundaries in his speeches in Devarim. So, I mean, as far as why it would make sense to talk about them or review them at those different parts. But so it's not mentioning it just to change it. It's just in each one, there seems to be, let's see. Let's try this here. What do classical Jewish scholars say about why the descriptions of the boundaries?
And a little bit of a way, it's flexible even then, because Reuben and Gad get
Right. Right.
And you can expand
And
your
Dan,
border.
and we saw that Dan took new territory. Right.
So,
and that seems to all be part of Israel. At one point, King David conquers all the way up to Damascus, but that was not ever considered a long-term part of Israel for some reason.
Also in 67, didn't we get to Damascus?
We could have. I think they stopped short of it. That's what they always say. Oh, how close that was. What do classical Jewish scholars say? It's not far. You know how far, like, Damascus is from? It's like, I think. Oh, no,
To Springfield. No, I'm kidding.
I'm gonna do Damascus. How far? Problem is, there's so many things you can do here. How far Damascus to Jerusalem? Driving, it would take 5 hours, which is basically from here to St. Louis.
Right.
Right. That's the difference between Jerusalem and Damascus, from here to St. Louis. So when you're on the northern boundary, you're
Right.
it says the direct distance is 136 miles, but you can't drive it direct. 136 miles.
As the bird flies.
That is ridiculous.
Yes.
How close it is. Okay. Anyways, oh yeah, there was that other thing. What do I stop there? About why the book description of the boundaries of Israel differ in the Torah. Again, this is oh, here we go. Professor Yoel Elitzur, The Destined Borders of Israel. I will set your borders from the Sea of Suf to the Sea of Philistia. That's the Exodus one. The expansive borders described 4 times in the Torah. So he starts with the one in Mishpatim, then he goes back to the one in Lech Lecha, then Devarim. Where's the Bamidbar one? These 4 sources complete one another. The verses describe 6 geographical points that delineate the borders of the land. In the north, the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River is mentioned in all 4 parallel passages. It seems that this refers to the northwestern section of the river, north of the river's knee. Today, this area contains an artificial basin adjacent to the Syrian town of Maskaneh, about 50 miles southeast of Aleppo. In the west, the Mediterranean Sea, called the Sea of Philistia or the Western Sea in these passages. So he's saying that the Sea of Philistia is the entire Mediterranean, border. And then in the south, the Sea of Suf in Genesis 15, the river of Egypt. The Sea of Suf bifurcates into 2 gulfs, the Gulf of Eilat on the east and the Gulf of Suez on the west. North of the Gulf of Suez lies the easternmost branch of the Nile Delta, which carried a stream in ancient times, but subsequently ran dry. In the Hellenistic period and the Roman period, this branch was known as the Pelusian Arm, after the city of Pelusium, located in what is now Tel El Farama, near Baluza in the northwest Sinai Peninsula. The city was situated on the riverbank and became known for producing fine linen fabric. In the east, the wilderness and the Lebanon. The wilderness is apparently the large Syrian desert east of the inhabited region of the Transjordan. This enormous desert was impassable in ancient times. Therefore, even though the land of Israel is situated west of Babylon, which accounts for its sobriquet in the Babylonian Talmud Ma'arava, ancient travelers to the land of Israel from Babylonia, Syria, and Aram would have to journey along the northern Euphrates and enter the land from the north. The inclusions of the Lebanon among the borders of the land of Israel presents some difficulty, as ostensibly the Lebanon region does not lie on the border, but falls within it. A solution to this problem can be found in the Septuagint, which translates the word Halvanon, the anti-Lebanon mountains, the long mountain range that begins from Mount Hermon and trends northeast. East of the Bekaa Valley, the range is known in Arabic as Al-Lubna Esh-Sharqi. This, during times when we have absolute peace in that region, we're going to be doing these trips. We're going to be going to all these places and looking at all the boundaries and going along with their trips and their travels. Okay.
Sure.
It would.
A boundary check. Used to be here, now it's here.
Yeah, but it doesn't. There in his review, he didn't have much to say about why it would be different. They're just in his articles. Well, I didn't read the whole article, but that's the Etzion article. He just identifies common
Borders.
Yeah. Oh, I see. He separates out our parsha from the others. And then he goes, in addition to these borders, there's an additional destined border that is different from the one described above. Parshat Maseh delineates entirely different borders for the land of Israel. Instruct the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter land of Canaan, da, 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 da. In place of these expansive borders, we find much smaller borders. In the north, the border extends to Lavo Hamat and Mount Hor. According to the identification advanced by Chazal and supported by evidence from Tanakh, this peak is located in the Amanus Range, today the Nur Mountains, above the northeast corner of the Mediterranean Sea. In the south, the border extends to the wilderness of Zin and Kadesh Barnea. Today, it's known as the Negev Mountains. In the southwest, to the Wadi of Egypt, identified as Wadi El Arish. In the east, to the Jordan and the Dead Sea. The same borders are mentioned in brief in the description of the land that the spies scouted. So that's it. The only border delineated in our description that matches all the other descriptions is the Mediterranean.
Yeah, well, that's pretty big.
But the rest of them are not the same borders. He wants to say, it seems that the Torah is presenting two different sets of borders for the land of Israel, one expansive and one more limited. If we examine the book of Joshua, we find that it too presents two sets of borders. Okay. Why are there two sets of borders? Some solve the problem by defining the expansive borders as the promised borders. Uh, 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 uh. it seems that the text in our parsha and similarly in Parshat Akev answers this question. The Torah speaks of the fact that the conquest of the land will be accomplished in a slow process. I will drive them out before you little by little until you have increased and processed the land. The Torah presents two obstacles that may stand in the way of Israel's conquest of the land. The first is lest the land become desolate and the wild beasts multiply to hurt you. And the second is you shall not make a covenant with them and their gods. You shall not remain in their land, lest they cause you to sin against me, etc. The land that was designated for the people of Israel is large and expansive. In the future, Israel will regrow and become as numerous as the stars in the heaven. But at the time, their population was only 600,000 men, and it was thus impossible to take possession of the entire land. Even to be able to conquer it all, they would have to choose between two evils: either allow their enemies to remain in the land and forge a treaty with them, or what is the second option? Either to allow their enemies to remain in the land and forge a treaty with them that will inevitably prove a snare to Israel, or destroy the nations of Canaan without being able to settle the land. The second option is a bad one as well, because it will go wild and they'll have sorts of wild animals, etc., etc. So that is his suggestion. His suggestion is that there are two boundaries. There's the initial boundary for conquering and living in. And then as the nation grows, it's going to be expected to expand into the bigger description. Yeah, because even in this description, in ours, when they shows the map, it looks like twice as big as Israel today, even without going all the way to Iraq.
Right.
Even that narrow one, just going up, still looks, because it goes up into Lebanon and Syria and into Turkey.
I think we have to have a new sign.
What is it?
From the river to the sea, Israel shall be.
Nice. You want to make up some T-shirts?
I think so. Send them to all the college campuses.
All right. Next week, we are not meeting because I'm going to be traveling to Toronto.
To or from?
To. Because the wedding is Thursday night.
Ah.
We're going to leave Wednesday afternoon, probably stop in the middle. And then
then you'll drive back before Shabbos?
So now we're going to drive to New York before Shabbos.
Vay.
And then he's leaving. Sholi's going to leave from New York on Sunday. All right. Be well, everybody.
So
Thank you. Be well.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.